The air was crisp, and the scent of pine trees filled the evening breeze as 5 friends made their way deep into the heart of the Blackwood Forest. They had embarked on a camping trip, seeking an escape from the hustle and bustle of the city. Little did they know that this journey into the wilderness would test their friendship and courage in unimaginable ways. Chris, the adventurous soul and the one who had organized the trip, led the way with a map and compass in hand. Beside him was Emily, his girlfriend, an artist with a fascination for the mysteries of nature. They were joined by Sarah, the rational thinker and keen observer, as well as Tom and Lisa, a couple looking for some quality time away from their busy lives. As the group ventured deeper into the forest, they marveled at the towering trees that seemed to touch the sky. The dense canopy overhead filtered the fading sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. The sound of rustling leaves and the distant call of birds filled the air, creating a sense of serene isolation. Destination was a remote campsite known as Whispering Pines, a place Chris had heard about from an old woodsman he met during a previous trip. According to the legend, it was a place of solitude and beauty. As they set up their campsite, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The woods seemed to whisper secrets to her, and the shadows between the trees seemed to move with a life of their own. She dismissed it as her overactive imagination, but a nagging feeling of being watched persisted. As night descended upon Whispering Pines, the friends gathered around a crackling campfire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. The woods around them were alive with the nocturnal symphony of crickets and owls. Tom, always the storyteller, suggested they share ghost stories to add a thrilling edge to their camping experience. Eager to embrace the campfire tradition, they each took turns weaving tales of spectral encounters and eerie hauntings. Emily's story, The Lady of the Lake, sent shivers down their spines as she described the ghostly figure that appeared at the edge of a nearby lake, her long, flowing hair and ethereal gown reflecting the moonlight. Chris recounted the legend of the wandering woodsman, a restless spirit forever searching for his lost love in the wilderness, leaving a trail of ghostly footprints in his wake. Sarah, unable to shake her unease, told a chilling tale of the Whispering Woods, where the trees themselves whispered secrets to those who dared to listen, luring them deeper into the darkness. Lisa's story, The Cabin in the Clearing, was met with nervous laughter as she described a cabin that mysteriously appeared and disappeared in the forest, leaving behind cryptic messages etched into its walls. As the night wore on, the stories seemed to take on a life of their own. An unnatural chill settled over the campsite, and the fire's crackling became an eerie backdrop to the haunting tales. Sleep came fitfully that night, as each member of the group experienced strange and unsettling dreams. Shadows danced on the tent walls, and whispers filled their subconscious minds. Sarah was the first to awaken, her heart pounding in her chest. She unzipped the tent and stepped outside, hoping the cool night air would calm her nerves. But what she saw froze her in her tracks. A pale figure, almost translucent, stood among the trees, its eyes fixed on her. The figure beckoned with a bony finger, and Sarah stumbled backward, her heart racing. The others were soon awakened by her frantic cries. Chris, Tom, and Emily rushed out of the tent, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. But there was nothing to be seen. The apparition had vanished, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. Sarah tried to explain what she had seen, but her friends dismissed it as a product of her sleep-deprived mind and the campfire stories. They assured her that the forest was playing tricks on her imagination, a result of their own spooky tales. Reluctantly, they all returned to their tents, hoping that sleep would provide respite from the unsettling events of the night. But the woods seemed to have other plans. The following day, the group decided to explore the forest, attempting to shake off the lingering unease from the previous night. They hiked deeper into the wilderness, their footsteps echoing through the ancient trees. As they ventured farther into the forest, strange occurrences became more frequent. Twigs snapped behind them, and faint whispers brushed against their ears. Shadows flitted in their peripheral vision, and the air grew heavy with an oppressive energy. In the afternoon, they stumbled upon an abandoned cabin, its wooden walls weathered by time and neglect. It was eerily similar to Lisa's campfire tale. Intrigued, they cautiously entered, the floorboards creaking under their weight. Inside, they discovered a series of cryptic messages etched into the walls. The messages seemed to tell a story of someone lost in the woods, their desperation growing with each passing day. It was as if the cabin itself had absorbed the fear and despair of its previous occupants. Unease settled over the group, and they decided to leave the cabin behind, pressing on with their hike. But the forest seemed to have other plans, as they soon found themselves disoriented, unable to find their way back to camp. As evening descended upon the forest, panic set in. The group was hopelessly lost, their compass spinning wildly and the forest seemingly shifting around them. The eerie whispers grew louder, and shadows danced ominously between the trees. Sarah's unease had reached a breaking point. She was certain that something malevolent was stalking them, something far more sinister than mere tricks of the mind. She shared her fears with the others, who, despite their skepticism, couldn't deny the unsettling atmosphere that had enveloped them. Their desperate attempts to find their way back to camp only led them deeper into the heart of the wilderness. Exhausted and terrified, they made a harrowing discovery, an old, overgrown path that seemed to lead nowhere. With no other options, they followed the path, their trepidation growing with each step. It eventually led them to a clearing in the woods, where an ancient oak tree stood, its gnarled branches reaching for the heavens. But what they saw next froze their blood. Hanging from the tree were crude effigies, fashioned from twine and sticks, each representing a member of their group. Panic surged as they realized that the malevolent presence they had sensed was no mere spirit, it was something far more sinister. As the group stood in the clearing, dread washed over them. The crude effigies swayed in the breeze, their twisted forms mocking the friends. The forest around them seemed to come alive, as if every tree and shadow were part of some malevolent plan. In a frenzy of fear, they attempted to flee. But the forest resisted, the path before them shifting and changing. It was as if the very woods conspired to keep them trapped. Emily, the artist and dreamer, was the first to be taken. She disappeared into the shadows, her screams echoing through the night. Chris, her boyfriend, called out to her in desperation, but she was gone. The group frantically searched for Emily, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. But she had vanished without a trace. Panic turned to terror as they realized that something was hunting them, something that had no intention of letting them leave the forest. As the night wore on, their numbers dwindled. Each member of the group was picked off one by one, their terrified cries fading into the night. Sarah, the rational thinker, was the last to remain. Alone and filled with a desperate determination to survive, Sarah faced the malevolent force that had haunted them. She sought answers in the ancient oak tree, where the effigies still swayed in the breeze. With trembling hands, she began to dismantle the effigies, muttering words of defiance. As each one was destroyed, a sense of dread seemed to lift from the forest. The shadows receded, and the oppressive atmosphere lessened. In the darkness, Sarah heard a whisper, faint but filled with anguish. She realized that the malevolent presence was not a vengeful spirit but a tormented soul, trapped in the forest for eternity. Driven by compassion and courage, Sarah made a daring decision. She would confront the spirit, find a way to release it from its torment, and end the cycle of malevolence that had ensnared them all. Sarah ventured deeper into the forest, guided by the whispers of the tormented spirit. She came upon an ancient oak tree, its roots twisted and gnarled, where the spirit's presence was strongest. As she stood before the tree, the spirit materialized before her, a flickering apparition of pain and despair. It was the lost soul of a woodsman, condemned to wander the forest for eternity, seeking revenge for a perceived betrayal. Sarah, her heart filled with empathy, listened to the spirit's tale of woe. She learned that the woodsman had been wronged in life, his love stolen from him by a deceitful friend. In death, he had become consumed by bitterness and anger, unable to find peace. With tears in her eyes, Sarah made a pact with the spirit. She would help him find closure and forgiveness, and in return, he would release her friends and allow them to leave the forest. The spirit agreed, and together, they embarked on a journey through the forest, unraveling the mysteries of the past and confronting the pain that had bound him for so long. As Sarah and the spirit delved into his past, they uncovered the truth, a tragic tale of love, betrayal, and misunderstanding. The spirit's bitterness had been born from a misunderstanding, and his anger had been misdirected. With Sarah's guidance, the spirit found forgiveness and release from his torment. As he faded into the light, he fulfilled his promise, allowing the trapped souls of Sarah's friends to return. The forest, once malevolent and oppressive, seemed to sigh with relief as the darkness lifted. Sarah reunited with her friends, their experiences forever etched in their memories. They emerged from the woods, forever changed by their encounter with the malevolent spirit. Years later, the group returned to the Blackwood Forest, this time as a team of paranormal investigators. They sought to uncover the secrets of the Whispering Pines campsite and the malevolent spirit that had once haunted them. Their investigations revealed a tragic history of betrayal and vengeance that had bound the spirit to the forest. With empathy and understanding, they performed a ritual to finally release the spirit from its torment, allowing it to find peace in the afterlife. As they left the forest, they couldn't help but feel that their encounter with the malevolent spirit had been a catalyst for their shared passion for the paranormal. Together, they continued their work as investigators, helping others find closure and peace with the spirits that lingered in the shadows. The legend of Whispering Pines lived on, a reminder of the darkness that could lurk within the heart of the wilderness and the courage it took to confront it. For Sarah and her friends, the haunting experience had forged an unbreakable bond and a shared mission to bring light to the darkness and peace to the tormented souls that dwelled within it.
I'm an icon, man, and my girl about a 10. I should fuck her in a Benz.